this, as I say, this is my layout, Phoenix Parkway. I suppose I started this I got the baseballs from Tim Horn back in about 2000, I think 2017 these arrived. And then I was having some work done in the house, so I wasn't able to actually do anything with them. So they sort of sat for a while. And then sort of about a year later, I constructed the baseboards and then started laying the track. The Phoenix part of the layout was the Phoenix was rising from the ashes, because I'd bought a roundy, a P4 roundy layout, which actually was in here. But when I had to move out of here, when I moved out of here and this place got rented, I wasn't able to sort of keep this space. The plan was that I was going to keep this bit and only rent the house out, but one thing or another, that didn't happen. So unfortunately, the layout that this come off of had to be broke up. So what I did, I just I sort of saved this all point work, or as much of the point work as I possibly could, and then the rest of the layout unfortunately had to go. So yeah, it was thanks to George and all of his efforts that actually built this, or built all the point work for this anyway. But having sort of like, you know, fettled and mucked around with some of these points on here to sort of get them running, to actually get them running on this layout. Bearing in mind that, you know, I had to sort of remove them from the other one. I'm sure that there was probably, you know, as careful as I was, you can't help but, you know, there are always going to be a risk of doing damage. So I sort of had to do minor works, but I reckon now that my skills are probably just about enough to actually have a go at building a point. So controls for this layout is all mega points, and I went down the mega point road because WFRM, the group that I'm involved with, they use mega points as well. So if there was any technical data, and trust me, there's been a lot of technical data I've needed, they were to hand, and they'd sort of understand that they'd know what I wanted effectively. So that just made absolute sense to sort of use that, as opposed to going for something different that you know, that they may not have been so familiar with. Mikey on the group is absolutely superb, and yeah, he's been a great inspiration towards getting this working. So that's a positive. The actual points are thrown again, say with mega points and servos to actually throw the points, and it does work pretty well. I've had a couple of issues, but I think some of that's been me not understanding fully. But like I said, after a chat with Mikey, we can normally sort it out. But the running session I've got coming up for you is actually giving this layout quite a lot of use, more use than what it's probably ever had, and it's performed really well. I mean, there has been issues and bits and pieces that have come to light, but one of the things, I've got a temporary track here that runs off scene. That's played up, but then it is a temporary track. But most of the main line that's actually down and fitted, as you see, has been really good. And there's a couple of places where I need to revisit, and sometimes it takes the camera to highlight. Camera to highlight that sort of thing. You know, as I've sort of been watching back some of the footage, I've been going, crikey, that needs addressing. But like I said, that's something that the camera's picked up. So there's a couple of places on here that I definitely need to revisit soon and sort out. As for sort of time and region, so I've gone for 1984, probably mid 80s to sort of like early 90s. I've kept away from privatisation. Not that I've got anything against regional railways and sort of RES and all the rest of it, but I've kept away from that because it's just another load of stock that I needed and everything else, and I just decided that it was probably better to sort of just keep back from there just a little bit. So most of what you'll see on here is kind of like from sort of like the sort of mid to late 80s, but then there are interlopers. For the sharp-eyed ones amongst you, there's going to be interlopers. Certainly my coil carrying train and ones with the Accurascale wagons in, I do believe, or they're sort of like, they're about 94, 95 sort of time they were converted, so they don't exactly fit on here from a time perspective, but I like them, and it's a nice short train, and I don't really want to get rid of it. So that'll be probably one of the only trains on here that's kind of that new, if that makes any sense. But it does fit on within the, obviously not within the time period, but it does fit on within the theme of what I'm trying to achieve. So I'm quite happy with that. But I say most of the rest of the stuff is pretty much sort of more within keeping of the time. I think probably some of my road vehicles are probably a little bit newer than what they should be. But again, I don't really know a lot about the road vehicles. I've also got MOD vehicles on the MOD train that I have absolutely no idea what or when. I mean, they could be anything. But again, it's something I like the look of, and you know, I'm not going to be too fussed. But I was told that some of them were sort of like within that sort of time period, but I'm only going by what I've been told and not what I know. So it's one of those. But like I said, again, from the modeller's license perspective, I'm happy with what I've got, and that's I think that's what it's all about. The region, I went for Middle England on this, because I was trying to get the most diverse amount of traffic as I possibly could. The signal box, I know that's like Liverpool Exchange. That's obviously going to be changed to sort of Phoenix Parkway Exchange or something along them lines, or Phoenix Exchange. But as for now, it's just the Liverpool one. And that signal box is obviously probably way too big to have controlled, you know, what is effectively a single track. And the other signal box down the other end is purely for the crossing gates. Again, I suppose you could argue that that big signal box probably would have done both. But I do like my signal boxes, and that's why I've gone for them. So, yeah, that was that. The line, what I also tried to achieve is that down the back there's another line which that signal box, you know, may or may not have looked after, which has been long since removed. So that's what that embankment is behind the signal box, is actually where the track was. That will be a track bed eventually. But I've been trying to sort out what I need to do, sort of like for the retaining wall going up to it. The bit that you'll sort of see throughout the video is fair price models. I've used quite a bit of his stuff actually. I quite like that. The sort of the depot down near the RFD depot, and sort of like the low relief offices, they're all fair price models as well. So yeah, so I quite like his stuff, and I've been using it. So that's taken care of that. The running of it is kind of like 1980s for the most part. The area is Middle England, sort of Birmingham-ish area, sort of going out towards Norwich on that cross-country route. So hopefully that will encompass sort of like local hauled, DMUs and everything else that I can get. I do like the American way of actually operating, or having the layout where you've got as many industries on it as possible. So what I've tried to do is add as much operators' interest as I possibly can. Obviously, when you're at a show over the weekend, you need to think about not being bored with, or you need to think that you've got enough stuff to actually run and sort of like have enough to do, if you like. So we've got me TPO depot, which is here. I've got me 2 middle roads here, which are the CE bit of it, and I've got my 2 roads here, which is the RFD transfer. But obviously, as with most yards, that starts off like that, but you've got other bits and pieces that do share these roads, so it's not specifically that, but that's kind of how it's set out in a minute. So down the other end, we've got a fueling point, or we got a light maintenance depot for the DMUs, fueling point for the DMUs, and there's also a spare siding down there. And then over the back, which would have been part of the depot once but has now been repurposed, is the RFD transfer depot. So you've got stuff that goes in and out of there for unloading and reloading, etc. And again, I say that's trying to sort of like have as much traffic or as much interest on that as I could possibly obtain. There's also a spur road within the depot which goes off to the fueling and replenishing point. So there's 2 tanks there that serve the actual depot fueling points themselves. So occasionally you get a TEA train or TTA trains or TTAs go down there in order to replenish those tanks. And there's also a smaller waste oil tank there as well, which would which is used to sort of store all the nasties when they're sort of like servicing the loco. So if there's any oil changes or fluids or anything like that, would all be pumped into that tank, and then occasionally you'll get a train down there to clear that as well. So as I said, I've just been sort of trying to sort of make it so as we got enough or got as much interest as I could possibly get within the space that I've got. So anyway, yeah, what I'd like you, or hopefully that you'll enjoy the. So anyway, hopefully you'll enjoy my train spotting at Phoenix Parkway. So yeah, got that coming up for you now, and yeah, enjoy. Thanks.